Of the unclean demons, some tempt man insofar as he is man, while others disturb him insofar as he is a non-rational animal. The first, when they approach us, suggest to us notions of self-esteem, pride, envy, or censoriousness, notions by which non-rational animals are not affected. Whereas the second, when they approach, arouse insensate power and desire in a manner contrary to nature. For these passions are common to us and to animals, and lie concealed beneath our rational and spiritual nature. Hence the Holy Spirit says, the thoughts that come to men insofar as they are men. I have said you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but you shall die as men and fall as one of the princes. Psalm chapter 82, verse 6 and 7. But what does he say of the thoughts which stir in men non-rational? Do not be as the horse and mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be controlled with bit and bridle in case they attack you. Psalm chapter 32, verse 9. Now if the soul that sins shall die, Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 4, it is clear that insofar as we die as men, we are buried as men, we are buried by men. But insofar as we are slain or fall as non-rational animals, we are devoured by vultures and ravens, whose young cry to the Lord. Psalm chapter 147, verse 9, and roll themselves in blood. Job chapter 39, verse 30. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. Matthew chapter 11, verse 15. When one of the enemy approaches you and wounds you, and you wish to turn his sword back into his own heart, Psalm chapter 37, verse 15, then do as follows. Analyze in yourself the sinful thought that has wounded you, what it is, what it consists of, and what in it especially affects the intellect. Suppose, for instance, that a thought full of avarice is suggested to you. Distinguish between the component elements, the intellect which has accepted the thought, the intellection of gold, gold itself, and the passion of avarice. Then ask, in which of these does the sin consist? Is it the intellect? But how, then, can the intellect be the image of God? Is it the intellection of gold? But what sensible person would ever say that? Then is gold itself the sin? In that case, why was it created? It follows then that the cause of the sin is the fourth element, which is neither an objective reality nor the intellection of something real, but is a certain noxious pleasure, which once it is freely chosen compels the intellect to misuse what God has created. It is this pleasure that the law of God commands us to cut off. Now as you investigate the thought in this way, and analyze it into its components, it will be destroyed, and the demon will take to flight once your mind is raised to a higher level by this spiritual knowledge. But before using his own sword against him, you may choose first to use your sling against him. Then take a stone from your shepherd's bag and sling it, 1 Samuel chapter 17, by asking these questions. How is it that angels and demons affect our world, whereas we do not affect their worlds? For we cannot bring our world, whereas we do not affect their worlds. For we cannot bring the angels closer to God, and we cannot make the demons more impure. And how was Lucifer, the morning star, cast down to earth? Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, making the deep boil like a brazen cauldron. Job chapter 41, verse 31, disturbing all by his wickedness and seeking to rule over all. Insight into these things grievously wounds the demon and puts all his troops to flight. But this is possible only for those who have been in some measure purified and gained a certain vision of the inner essences of created things, whereas the impure have no insight into these essences. And even if they have been taught by others how to outwit the enemy, they will fail, because the great clouds of dust and the turmoil aroused by their passions at the time of battle. For the enemy's troops must be made quiet so that Goliath alone can face our David in combat with all unclean thoughts. Then let us use these two methods: analysis of the thought attacking us and the asking of questions about inner essences.